But thank you guys for enduring that. If you don't know, I was an opera singer once upon a time, and so basically Postback is a way for me to live out all my old dreams and everything. All the things I wished I could sing, I always wanted to be Ewan McGregor in Moulin Rouge. How many of you recognize the song, by the way? I'm just curious. Oh, okay, most of us. We're in the right age group or something. Thank you guys so much for coming out, for making it for this. You know, this is our 5th annual Postback. And so why exactly do we do these things? Well, 5 years ago, we thought about the fact that if we could just get marketers and partners in a room together, maybe they would have some pretty cool conversations. Maybe this whole industry would have a chance to grow a little bit more, because it's some of those relationships that allow us to trust each other and allow us to scale this, everything that we're trying to do. So, so we kicked it off. And it was really an amazing success. One of the principles, though, was that we wanted there to be a lot of time for you to get to know each other, outside of the hall, while still getting a lot of education. So we've really built an agenda to help with that. So I hope you will spend time in here listening to the talks, but we're going to have a lot of times for you guys to hang out with each other. Kudos to you for coming out. 1,000 of you make this pilgrimage to Seattle and geek out on mobile marketing. 63% of us in this room are marketers, the rest being ad partners, tech companies, agencies, and more. This year, we also have some pretty amazing representation from the platforms. So we've got 11 folks from Google, shout out, 19 from Amazon, 24 from Apple. You guys have come in to help support these marketers and these partners as much as you can, and we're really, really appreciative that you make it out. It's even more amazing that we represent an audience of over 25 different countries. So you guys came from all over, and again, very much appreciate it. Thank you so much. Give yourselves a hand for that. Thank you. I also have to call one more thing out. This is our 3rd year to raise money for women in technology. It's an organization called Ignite, bringing technology into public schools. And our goal this year was to work with all of our partners and customers to raise $100,000 supporting women in technology, and actually raised $110,000. So kudos to our partners. Thank you so much. Ad Action, Ad Colony, Funware, Imparticle, Dynalist, MoPub, Minimob, Fluent, InMobi, Mob Vista, and AppLovin. Again, thank you guys so much. Seriously, this is a really big deal. So this past year has been a pretty wild and incredible ride for Tune, but that's not really anything new. I really have to say thank you for the support you've given our people and our platforms. The growth has been really fun to go through. The attributions on the Tune Marketing Console have increased from 16 billion to 42 billion. It's 160% since last Postback. Clicks on our platforms increased from 12 to 35 billion. New enterprise customers grew by almost 50% on our platform. And also, we have so many new people coming into the fold, people just signing up for attribution, analytics, marketing automation for the very first time. We had 227% more signups happening now than last year at Postback. And all of that growth on the Tune Marketing Console is without even mentioning the growth we've seen with our ad partners and networks on the Has Offers platform, with volumes growing by 216% since last year. So it's been fun for us to experience that growth along with the rest of the industry, as there's been a lot of change that's happening with all of us. And one of the big things that happened is the rise of retail and commerce over this past year. I think we talked about it a lot, and it's gonna happen and it's gonna come. But if you've spent much time in this industry over the last year, you've seen it really come true. Big major enterprise and retail players are coming into the space, really figuring out what the mobile experience needs to look like, throwing down big advertising budgets, and it's an exciting time to be entering into mobile. We've also seen the convergence of MarTech and AdTech coming together. At least we've seen the desire. We've seen marketers basically saying, I have to have my advertising data inside my marketing data. They have to be together in order for me to know what's happening with my customer from the top to the bottom of the funnel. How many of you got a little bit excited when you saw this recently? Whoa. Mary Meeker's Internet Trends Report. Kaboom. Ad growth equals driven by mobile. It's pretty wild. I mean, it kind of still makes me tingle, a little excited here. She has continued to put out one of the most reliable reports for us to understand what's happening right now and what's consistent in the industry. And for her to lay this down like a hammer, like 10 slides into her presentation, is a big, big deal for all of us here. Where do the eyeballs and the attention go? And there goes the opportunity to speak to consumers. Hasn't always been roses as we've been figuring out mobile advertising and exactly how that's going to work and exactly how we're going to communicate and handle the data. But we do all have this like utopian idea of where we might be going. I think if I were to sit down and have coffee with just about any of you, you'd be able to give me an earful of what you wish it did look like and all the problems that we have that we could so easily fix. We could just so easily fix this and that. But it takes a movement of everyone stepping in lockstep together, and the communication that's required there is really, really important. So in order to get to something like this, in order to make some movement on some of the things we think are important, we first have to realize that we're coming up against a few challenges. With mobile, location, and even just the sheer growth of user behavior, we're seeing an explosion of data. From columns, more volume, and it's all sort of, taking over. It's causing clutter in a lot of ways and not really providing a lot of insight. Some of it makes it just harder and harder to join our databases and help them talk together or make sense of 2, 3, or 4 different independent systems that are trying to connect. On top of this fact, it's kind of scaling infinitely, and it's also being stored differently just about everywhere. We don't have best practices for marketing data. So we're all fast at work at our own solutions without really talking and working together to try to find these best practices. So this is definitely going to be a challenge, and it's something where you have to step up and use your human skills to try to get on the same page with your partners and your platforms. The conversation around fraud has been hostile. I don't know how many of you saw this interview on Recode, and though Gabe definitely spoke the truth about a problem that we really have in our industry, I didn't hear a solution. I didn't hear something that tells us, okay, what are we going to do about it? How are we going to work on this together? And hostility doesn't help us grow. It doesn't help us move forward. Let's all admit that we kicked off the conversation about fraud with a tone a little bit filled with judgment, blame, and anxiety. And that's not totally fair, especially when marketers had a great deal to do with some of the growth of fraud, to be honest. We got addicted to installs, didn't we? We did. And, as we continue to work with networks and try to keep the scale and make sure our KPIs were coming back to the boardroom the right way, we just kept saying, give me more, and kept buying some of these low-quality installs because they were cheap and trying to mix it with other traffic. I mean, come on, this is what was going on. And as a result, we persisted the problem. And ad networks kept paying publishers that were providing things that were fraudulent or really low traffic. It's a challenge that we're going to have to clean up. Point solutions are becoming more fragmented and less integrated. There's a new analytics, attribution, automation, testing, proximity, audience, blah, blah, blah thing coming out every single week. And of course, it's exciting to see the growth of new innovations and exciting new ways to think about things, but we are also making it much more difficult for buyers. The introduction of service-based architectures to the tech community has certainly helped to advance some of our ideas around technology and capabilities, but when it comes to consolidation, pulling together a marketing tech stack, it hasn't really made things much simpler. And if you're a small and nimble team and can pull together these things, it works out okay for you. But if you're a massive enterprise, that's going to be a problem. And I have to say, honestly, the clouds have failed us when it comes to point solutions. They don't do the work to integrate with that massive landscape, and most of them have not reached enough scale across those partners to really make it meaningful or valuable. A year ago, we talked about consolidation and how it was going to help us. We actually saw some numbers from Forrester that continued to show that consolidation is going to be happening just based on the economics and trends that are happening in our industry. But the reality is it hasn't really gotten any better. We haven't really pulled together many solutions. Location. It is filled with empty promises still. No one knows how to actually use location as a first party? You know, what's the best practice for a marketer to actually drive value through location? And it's a little crazy because the technology's there, and consumers are actually trusting us with their location behavior, like a lot. It's up to us to step up to the challenge and start to build out some specifics that help our businesses move forward. It's a challenge, but it just takes smart people to build the workflows and best practices. And if I hear one more proximity pitch about the insights or push notifications that you could send at Madison Square Garden, I'm going to lose my mind. That's not what location is about. Location is about understanding the lifetime of a user, the patterns that they build, the relationship they create, especially in situations like with a retailer, convenience store, QSR, something that has a really large brick and mortar footprint. This is the everyday of interacting with a customer that location can empower, not a few Beyonce concerts. We have performance measurement, we have brand and display, we have marketing automation providers. What in the world are we doing where all these things continue to be separate and they don't talk to each other? How do I know what a single customer endured? How do I know that a customer is not getting spammed on one device while they're churning out the other device? If you're going to be a marketer of the future, you have to pull your stuff together, and you have to have a system of record that you can trust. Okay, rant over. You might have noticed over this last 6 months, we've really kind of kept our heads down at Tune. We've been working very hard to figure out what both marketers and partners say are their most important needs. A true marketing stack can't be built just on a mountain of features. The core has to be aligned with what marketers really need and are dead focused on. So, to use the analogy, we're going to help marketers think about, and partners think about how to dial up and scale these things. We're going to build all the features that we can around how to scale and grow campaigns. But we're also going to figure out how to dial down the risk that we might have with compliance or fraud. And finally, we're going to dial in for efficiency, just to make it easier on a daily basis. So if you think about all the features and all the things that we're going to come out with at Tune over the coming year, they're going to be falling into those categories. I'm going to cover some core beliefs that we have at Tune about this industry and things that need to grow and change, and some of the ways that we're supporting those core beliefs, and I hope that most of you agree with some of them. Let's just start off with all marketing should be measured on performance. Can we agree? Yes? Okay. It might seem like an obvious one, but most marketing is honestly still not very measured or measurable. And whether we're talking about TV and out of home, which do make things complicated, it's sort of beside the point, because even most digital marketing is bought on programmatic, based on impressions or clicks, and not really judged all the way down to engagement and return, and how about revenue? That would be cool. Marketing must be measured on the impact that it has. That gets us excited at Tune because performance is really our DNA. We founded our first product in 2009 called Has Offers, and it was a platform just built for measuring performance, but doing it at scale, doing it with like hundreds or thousands of publishers. And now it's the back end of over 1,500 performance advertising networks, which is pretty crazy. And then in the beginnings of mobile, as it was starting out, we saw this as an opportunity to be like, well, why don't we approach this handset, this platform, this opportunity differently? Why don't we make it performance-based as quickly as we can? And that's really how we jumped from CPC to CPI. And what happened when that happened? This whole industry ignited and exploded around developing business models that could be ROI-driven. It's pretty wild. But we have to take that further, and that means we need more data and more efficient ways to buy inventory that lead us to registration, subscriptions, purchases. What I'd say in this category, what we were known for most at Tune is the deep and granular data that our reporting provides, that our logs provide, when you need to dig in and find out what in the heck really happened. And that is not without a cost. It was a choice early on that we were going to act like a system of record, provide every log, every column, and every metric that we possibly can, and make it available for all time. And I still have fights with our engineering department about that for all time, as I'm sure some of you have had those similar conversations. And now we're collecting reporting on even more things. We've got the Tune Marketing Console, of course, capable of measuring mobile app performance, but we're leaning in heavily into mobile web, desktop, digital TV. We're taking every digital element we can and making it measurable and comparable. And if you haven't looked recently, you can actually check out how to measure mobile web, as well as TV streaming like Chromecast, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. You can set up measurement for those applications and platforms now. And I suggest you start playing with it because you're going to see the ways that we can join those things and look at them in one single concept of a user. Marketing platforms of the future have to bring these things together, but with mobile as the tie really between them all, because it's the personal device that stays with us always. But once the data's in, we have to make some sophisticated decisions. That's why we've been hard at work on speed, accuracy, the contents of our reporting, including the way we report on things like cost data, return on ad spend. For example, in 1 year, multiverse reporting has become the most robust aggregation of mobile data. It is the fastest, most accurate path, honestly, to getting that metric return on ad spend. And it's granular down to the hourly level like no other platform is. And it's also free. It's free, of course, to Tune customers. It's also free to AppsFire customers, Adjust customers, anyone that has attribution data and wants to look at that return on ad spend as it connects to everything that they're doing with partners and the APIs that those partners provide for cost and measurability. Our innovations with Multiverse actually, though, did something, it sort of killed two birds with one stone. It transformed our entire reporting technologies across Tune. Here's our newest report in App Store Analytics. Shows the growth you saw from paid advertising and how that growth also impacted the lift of your organic users. Lift and regression analysis across your channels, pretty cool. We found that paid and organic actually impact each other quite massively. And we know that paid advertising, of course, has very deterministic, measurable performance, but we wanted to figure out how we judge those campaigns on their full performance, and certainly organic lift is a part of that. This new reporting layer means you're going to see us crank. New reports of every kind are going to start coming out. So pay attention, because the Tune Marketing Console is going to start transforming rapidly. In fact, let's start with our first brand new report today. How many of you have been asking for a re-engagement report? Maybe? Okay, nobody cares? I think you do. Something that shows you maybe like a cohort on your retargeting that you're spending money on, things like that. Well, let's go ahead and release this, shall we? We are launching the industry's first re-engagement report. How have you been measuring this before? Spreadsheets? You know, swimming in this data of connecting, like what did my acquisition providers do and what did my retargeting and how do I put this together? Well, I know this is kind of small print, but I want you to at least see what it looks like. You can see we've blurred retargeting partners out, but you can also see that we've credited the re-engagement that those partners provided, and you can see the re-engagements that came from them, what happened in 7 days, 14 days, engagements, everything that came from those campaigns. I think we're going to have also maybe some pretty happy re-engagement and retargeting providers that they can show their value to marketers in a much better way. And I definitely encourage you to hop in, play with this. It's live today, and I'm excited to get your feedback. So this is just one example of the many reports that we're going to be launching in the near future. But reports are not the only way that we want to represent insights. Of course, you do have access to those and access to APIs, but maybe, just sometimes, you're a little bit lazy. So that's what TuneBot is for. If you might have noticed, 2 days ago, we announced this little critter. TuneBot is the first chatbot for marketing to be able to query for performance. It allows you to easily figure out what's happening on the fly with a partner or a campaign, quickly get results, and of course, if you want to dive a little bit deeper, you can do that too. I hope you'll start talking to TuneBot. We don't want him to be too lonely. And he learns from all of you, so please continue to grow with him. And also give us your feedback. If there are queries that you think we should be including or evolutions that you'd like to see to make your daily activities a little bit better. This is really cool, especially when you're on the fly on your mobile device and you pull up your Slack channel and you want to ask TuneBot a quick question. What's going on with X? So let's give it a quick little spin. All you have to do is ask, good morning, TuneBot. Good morning, Sam. Installs last month by day. One moment, please. Boom. And we can see our installs over time. Let's go a little further. Installs by platform. One moment, please. Okay, looks like we had quite a few more installs on Android. Let's throw them a curveball. What was our ROAS for May? Oh, your return on ad spend was 1.89%. Okay, well, we have a little bit of work to do. But this just gives you an idea of like how simple it is to talk to TuneBot and get some results. Today we're ready to talk about also a new partnership. It's a pretty exciting one because sorry about that. That was supposed to wait for a minute. It was supposed to be this dramatic thing. I hate dramatic things, as you can tell. So interestingly, one of the biggest missing links for Tune data, but also just for the performance industry in general, has been connecting to the performance of creatives. Because we don't really provide creative management with what we do, or ad serving, or anything that really connects to that part of the funnel, you're sort of working in two different systems, and as a result, we also see sort of display marketing and performance marketing kind of having this big divide. I'm excited to start talking about now this partnership that we have built with Celtra. We've got some Celtra folks in the crowd, so thanks for coming out. How many of you guys know Celtra? You know these guys? You support them? You like them? Celtra is solving a problem of managing creative at scale. And they've been getting lots of mentions this year. You might even heard a little shout out at Google I/O, which was pretty cool. With this integration, we can do some pretty amazing things. We can auto-tag these creatives with dynamics, these dynamic parameters from our measurement URLs. So it sort of pulls together the separation of creative and performance. And what it really does is give you one system for a marketer to be managing creative and serving it out to DSPs or directly to publishers. And then it automatically is going to pull these tune links in and put the exact right parameters so that the creative is measured in a dynamic way. I see you guys giggling over here. It's going to be a really valuable way for us to move forward to connect display and brand and programmatic all the way into conversion. Okay, so I hope we can all agree that marketing should be measured on performance. These are just a few of the things that we're working on. There's a lot more to come. And again, I hope you're gonna just continue to give us that feedback on how we need to get better at judging the performance marketing. The second belief is that marketing should be transparent. What exactly am I talking about? Well, if you're from the ad tech world, you probably just turned your brain off because the word transparent is said so many times. But it is actually pretty real and very specific. It has to do with the way that we judge performance, that it has to be shareable, that it has to be so that everyone can see the results and so that there's not anything hidden. We already share reports with each other. We fire off postbacks and send audiences, but there's so much left to do today in order for us to improve the way we work with each other. So today, of course, I want to focus on a very specific area that relates to the opening that we had earlier, where transparency needs to happen. I want to talk about preventing fraud together. I want to change the dialogue. I want to make it more clear about what the expectations are that marketers have and what it is that partners really need to know to fulfill those expectations. One of the biggest risks that marketers face today is ad fraud. And to reduce that risk, you need to understand fraud across the ecosystem and at a deep and granular level. Today, most third-party tools attempt to tackle fraud from only one angle, and that's from the marketer side. And while those one-sided tools do reduce short-term costs, and that's certainly something that needs to happen, they don't really do anything to solve fraud more systemically for us as an industry together. Black box solutions don't show you behind the curtain. They don't explain what has actually happened, and this makes the conversation hostile. If you just have a system that says fraud, 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 and doesn't tell you why, and doesn't explain what's going on, then of course people are going to be screaming at each other. But it's not always based, and in these black boxes too, sometimes it's not always based on facts, but probabilistic models. And again, finger pointing, when it comes to that, when it's not hard evidence, that's tough. That's tough to deal with, both as a marketer and a partner. This is why early this morning we released to the press our new fraud prevention solution. And it has several different parts that we've built all together. So this is one of the things we're going to ask for all of you to help us with, to be testing out the different parts of this fraud prevention solution and showing us what's really working and what needs to be tweaked, because we need to come together with a real conversation that makes sense. First of all, what it does, it helps identify fraud, of course, with fraud reports, helps act on fraud with fraud rules and how that impacts postbacks. It automates and removes fraud with recommendations, and it aligns partners via a transparency report. It's the first truly transparent solution capable of identifying fraud all the way to the sub-publisher and affiliate level, and it's obviously free to Tune Marketing Console customers as well as to ad partners. Today, we've also released a new version of the Partner Console, partners.tune.com, and that allows all ad partners to log in and see what's happening on the opposite side of their customer when it comes to fraud and performance. One of the heavy lifting parts of this solution is the fraud rules part. These rules, which can be set up by marketers and are fully available to ad partners, enable both sides to clearly establish and communicate the criteria around which quality traffic will be allowed. And as you can see from this graphic, our new fraud prevention solution comes with a broad range of pre-created rules, along with the ability to create rules as you see fit. Our mission here is simple: make it easy for marketers and partners to set up the requirements they desire and block the things that they don't. So if a marketer wants to unattribute traffic that falls below their quality thresholds, they can set up the rules are transparent, they can do it on a partner basis, and when suspicious conversion comes through, the partner is still notified with a message that it was not attributed, and it gives them at least a reason why. This is going to be insanely helpful when it comes to debugging. So while black box solutions kind of creates confusion around what performance actually happened and what didn't, this at least just says, this is all the facts, this is what happened, and here's why. And this is how we see the industry working together. Marketers can set up their rules with the partners starting out on the same page, and from there, they sort of begin the cycle. The marketer receives recommendations and identifies fraud, is able to act on that fraud, and even send messages back to the partner to say what happened exactly. And this is all data and information that they both see. That means ad partners can know the expectations from that center point, follow along with their own performance in real time, monitor what needs to change, and enforce the right conditions on publishers. What's the biggest thing that this saves us? Our hope is that it saves us from clawbacks. Yuck. Let's just, follow along in real time on a daily basis and on the first week and determine what's going on before we let this go out of control 2 months, 3 months, 4 months later, and now we expect our money back and the partners paid the publishers and everything has freaked out, right? This is something that just helps us to align those expectations at every step of the way. So, let's make a change. Let's not wait 30 days, and let's deal with our conflict and hostility in maybe a better way. Let's use real data, let's talk to each other, and let's solve problems to make sure we're getting what we're buying and we're giving the right thing to sell. Oh, okay. Thanks, guys. So this is just an example of, there's many different reports and many different parts of the fraud prevention solution, but this is an example of fraud reports in action. Here on the left, you can see the lag time variation report that many of you are now maybe familiar with, where a marketer's looking at click to install, and they're seeing things that look non-human, that look like click injection or look like click spamming. And on the right, there's an example of a partner looking at the opposite side of the fraud rules that I was talking about. So these are the conversions that are coming in, and they're able to see these individual actions. They're able to see oh, this one was not attributed. Oh, why was that, right? And they're also able to see, ooh, maybe we attributed this time, but it's starting to look a little bit shaky based on this rule that we put in place. So it's the level of transparency that we need to create in order for both sides to come together and really fight fraud. We're going to need a lot of feedback on this from everybody, so please keep it coming. But we hope that this actually does what we're trying to do and make things more transparent. Maybe there's some other areas you want us to make more transparent in this industry, so of course, be letting us know about those too. Next, we come back to location. All marketing should be location-based. That's kind of a bold statement. But I do think it's true, especially if someone's giving it to you. They expect for you to make a change based on their location. So knowing location, it really does change everything for marketers. We're always, talking about right place, right time marketing. How in the world are we going to do that if we don't have location? What marketing automation platforms actually utilize location today? Does your marketing automation platform use that? Does your marketing cloud really utilize location to make decisions on how it is we should interact with the customer? Marketers need to be able to take action on the visits to the store. Heck, they should even make actions on the visits to their competitors' stores. Why not? We have so much to do and learn from location. When we know location, we can measure real-world impact. We can engage so much more efficiently, and we can understand our customer so much better. You may not even know it, but Tune has a location service integrated directly into the Tune Marketing Console. Guess how much it costs? Free. Yeah. Yeah. So if you're purchasing in-app marketing, our marketing automation product, you can start working with location, getting insights, reporting, building segments, messaging your customers. You can also see things like what we call attributed in-store events, right? So we have our app events, we have our web events, but what about when someone walked into the store or went by some other location that's important to us and tells us something about them? We launched this over the last 6 months in beta, and we're just now starting to open it up further. It is available if you want to talk to your CSMs. Here's an example of a Tune customer today that they can see the real-time walking in and out of their retail stores. What would you like to do with this data? This is actually, it's just first-party data. It's a marketer's actual customers. It's location that their customers gave to them. Why not use it? They want better experiences, so I think you should give it to them. This goes back to the challenge that we have with location. The tech is there, the data's there, we just need the campaigns, the ideas, the workflows, and all the best practices to make this stuff actually work. And if you remember, just getting started in mobile advertising, it was kind of tough at the very beginning because we didn't have the big platforms already showing us, like, how do you set up a campaign, and what does it look like to do tracking, and then what happens after someone has installed, or whatever it is. So there is some work to be done, and of course, we hope that the platforms are going to help us think about these things better and provide some use cases. But really just takes some smart people to spend some time thinking about their customer and deciding, how can we make a better experience with location? With location, we want you to better understand your customers. And that means new actionable audience segments. It means enhanced user profiles. It means the opportunity for more effective omni-channel moments, and even some connections between online and offline. You really can get creative with those things. Okay, so we've got one more to go. The last and really the most pivotal belief is that marketing should be people-centric. We've heard this quite a bit before, especially from those that are providing advertising and publishing. It seems obvious, yet nearly every attribution platform, measurement partner, still sits on a database that is device-oriented. Maybe they're able to sort of kludge together one row to another to try to report on it, for some kind of like very rudimentary insight. But each row in the database is still just a device and not a person. It makes pulling together devices and platforms, really difficult. It makes connecting that data to a CRM or connecting it to your demographic data extremely complicated. And that's why we spent over the last 18 months rebuilding our entire database architecture, which was super fun, and building it into a people-centric model. We call it People Service. It's the database all of our Tune Marketing Console products rest on, from attribution to segmentation to messaging, re-engagement, audiences. All of these things really relate to the same concept of a user, and everything is built on a single first-party record of that user. You don't know it, but if you use the Tune Marketing Console, you're already using this database. We're going to talk about it more to the press tomorrow, talk about how you can use it and engage with it further, how you can use your own account IDs and customer information to start pulling together this first-party data so that you have one single concept of a user. So look for that official announcement tomorrow. But of course, our CSMs and Tune people should be aware and educated and able to talk to you about it as well. This is, though, still kind of day one. Of course, we've seen people-based solutions from advertising partners and platforms helping to target customers, but this is a marketer's own first-party record of their customer. It's the first time there's been a marketing database like this that fully integrates not only the marketing automation and CRM components, but integrates it with advertising, integrates it with attribution, top of the funnel, the campaigns I'm running to bring customers in. It's like if your marketing automation tool got together with your attribution tool and got together with your customer database and were already kind of like built into one love child. That system would be incredibly capable and appealing, I think. It pulls it all together as one existing customer. If you're a marketer, you have to have a database like this. So we had to build a database like this. You need a complete loop from acquisition and engagement that connects into how you then re-engage and retain that customer, that connects to how you message that customer and any automation or experiences or A/B tests you do with that customer, that shows us then the lifetime value of that customer, gives us a picture of who they are, and allows us to share them as an audience to our partners so we can get more customers like that, and so that we can do really interesting things outside of our own properties with those customers. You have to build a map of the entire customer journey. And imagine what you can do with that. Imagine the segments you can create or the audiences that you can share, people that signed up on mobile but made their first purchase on desktop. That seems pretty simple, right? How many of you can actually do it? Whoa. Imagine the ways you can even enrich those profiles. With phase 2 of People Service, we'll make it easy for marketers to ingest data from their own systems and add demographic information and start to decorate and build these profiles all based on their first-party data. Things like demographic data or purchase history or even data from a DMP or from some other behavior or lookalike data that you've built. You can enrich the profiles of your customers, and you can leverage that to increase performance. You'll be able to help partners target the best customers for you because you'll know who those best customers are. And you'll be doing it with a modern platform that was built with mobile at the center, not as a channel, and that ties it all together. So let's push things forward together. These are just 4 things we want to improve, and I'm sure you have your own list. But I hope we can agree that if we can make progress just on these 4 things, we're going to be in a pretty different place next year at Postback. Together, we can shape an industry. I started by saying thank you, and that's how I'm going to end. The first year, we had 130 people at Postback, and the second year, we had about 500. This year, we have to turn people away because we want to keep it at about 1,000 people, so this can be an intimate crowd that is able to talk at a high level and make movement and change in this industry. You guys are the driving force. You're the thing that makes everything happen. I can see faces in the audience right now, people that have pushed us and stretched us in so many ways, and it has been an incredible honor to be a part of that growth. We're here to help marketers, partners, device makers, app stores, and everyone in this community be successful. Together we have the opportunity to shape things. I hope the next 2 days here at Postback will help shape what happens with you for this next year. Last, here's my challenge. Just engage. Engage with each other. engage on tough topics like fraud. Get excited, meet new people, build relationships that will enable you to drive your business and also just ones that you enjoy, and help this industry grow. That's what we expect from you. Spend time exploring, be open and available, and most importantly, life is way too short, so have some fun. Thank you.